hours and go further big goals. And that's exactly how I started my company in 2020. And I just recently took the leap of faith and just solely focusing on my business, which I'm super excited about.
That's awesome, Jennie. Thank you so much. And again, we're super happy to have you here. So, again, today we're talking about inspiring change and empowerment. So, Jennie, I'm going to be asking you a few questions. And please, these conversations are candid. I know you're huge on authenticity. And that's what we want to hear, no? The real us going through life. So, can you share with us a pivotal moment in your career when you had to push boundaries to inspire change? Because sometimes we have to do that. We want to see change, or we want to change, but we have to push the boundaries. And how that experience shaped your approach to leadership?
Goodness, that's an awesome question, Lizette. And I can think of many, many other examples. I'm going to focus on career changes because a lot of people ask me about that, I want to do something different. I don't even know where to start. And I know we just started the live part, but what
I don't know what happened.
No worries. But maybe if you missed this part, chemical engineer by background, but in my journey, I went from manufacturing to the business side to HR, which are like really bold moves and things like that. Yeah. I will say that first career change that I did was very empowering because I always empower people to go after their goals, right? And always, especially with Latinas and Latinos, the way we're raised is that you work hard and people will notice the hard work, yes. And at the end of the day, we drive our own journey, nobody else. But of course, that's easier said than done. So it got to the point that I'm showing that, and then that's my turn to actually practice what I preach. Yes. So after 17 years of being in a very successful career in manufacturing, I started toying with the idea that I needed something new. And there were two triggers. One of them was that, you know how in social media, you always see all the good things and you don't see the struggle, right? Like you say, be authentic, say that the good things, yes. Even though in the surface looked like a really good, successful career, it was very bumpy and way more than my peers, if you know what I mean. So I don't know. Do you remember, Lizette, when you were, I don't know if you did this. I did this in Puerto Rico a lot. We will go in the pool with our friends and we'll go around, in a line, like follow the leader. And the more you like create that current and and then you're like, now we're gonna go against, yes. And then it's like hard. And that's how I felt for years in my career. I was feeling like I was like driving against the current, and piece by piece was just taking everything out of me to the point that I lost my things, right? My bubbliness and things like that. And then the other piece, Liz said, was that I was not growing. And I'm not talking about promotions. I'm talking about, I knew I had so much more to offer. And I felt that like a little bird in a it's not
in a cage.
Una jaula, like this, right? Waiting till I spring the wings, or like the other analogy I have is, whenever you're in a board game, tienes una ficha, like a piece, and then move it in the board game, but you have no control of where you're going. Somebody else, yes? And that's the point that I said, okay, where your focus goes, the energy flows. And I started focusing on all the bad things. For example, after 17 years, who's going to want me? Yes. What about if I'm not successful? What are people going to think? Like, people are going to think that I failed, that I give
crazy, right?
All these thoughts. And that's why we need to be like a bodyguard, in charge of our mindset, because it can take you on a spiral down really quickly. And then I said, let me ask a different question, because that's another lesson that I have learned. Said the quality of the questions that you ask yourself it is the quality of the life you live at the end of the day. So I said, Jennie, if you go and stay in the comfort zone, right? Comfort zone, easy. I say easy with quotation marks because obviously I was not feeling at my best. Right. But if I wait 10 plus years until I retire, and I'm still doing what I've been doing for the past 17 years, feeling the way I'm feeling, is that worth it? At what cost? And I didn't like that picture. I said, oof, that's going to be a resentful Jennie. That's going to be a Jennie that lost confidence, etc. And I went for it. I went for the big change, but I started focusing on different things. And I said, ooh, actually, I'm not wasting any time, because now I'm adding time. I'm adding new tool sets and new experiences that are going to increase my opportunities in the future. Now it's going to be something different that is going to inspire joy and learning. I love learning and growing that way.
Yeah.
And I started focusing on all these things. What about if I inspire people that want to do this and they don't even know how? So I figured
Yeah.
out how, and then I empower people how to do it. And that really like fired me up. And I said, I'm going to go for it. Was it easy?
Wow.
No. Was it worth it? 100,000%. Because what I didn't know is that I did it very successfully, but the level of confidence that you gain and the level of like freedom is incredible, because I know if I did it once, I can do it again. So when the
Exactly.
HR opportunity came back, I'm like, piece of cake, let's go. And it's the same concepts that I continue to now empower people to do the same thing. So that I would say that was a pivotal one that has just like expanded the view of the world, because before I was focusing on the only thing I knew and the only
Right.
opportunities I thought I had. And when you step back, you see an ocean of opportunities, and it's an
Yeah.
amazing journey.
Yeah, it's a wonderful story, Jenny. Thank you. And you were mentioning that you've done this for so many years. You were in your comfort zone, so
Hmm.
to speak, but at
Yes,
the same time, you felt like you were trapped. And
yes.
I, I don't know. I see in a lot of people that that's the way they're feeling, but they're. Can you talk to us? What is that moment like? You start feeling this. I don't know how to say comezón or
Uh-huh.
uncomfort within the comfortable, right? Like within the
Uncomfortable with
comfort zone.
uncomfortableness. Yes,
Exactly. When you really, really start questioning yourself, am I going to make this change? Do I need to make a change? Right? Because I think
yes,
we can live
yes,
with that uncomfortable sensation for a long time.
yes.
And but then there's this moment when you say it's time to do something about it.
Yeah.
How was that specific moment for you, and what gave you courage to then start building your plan to actually execute the big change
Yeah.
that you did?
That's goodly said. One moment I can trigger. I came back from work, and then my husband asked me, "How are you?" And I thought that I was putting this like shelter, like no facade, right? Like that facade about, oh, I'm fine. Yes. And I know I was not fine, but for him, I didn't want to burden him with things at work and things like
Yeah.
that. And then he looked at me through he looked at my eyes. It was almost like he was reading my soul. I said, no, 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 Jenny, really, tell me, how are you?
Oh wow.
And I started crying. And I don't cry very often. So he actually even like took him a little bit by surprise.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And I realize now that this is impacting our relationship. And if you can see it, my kids can see it too. And they're not getting the best mom that they can get. They're not getting even my husband said, the reason I said that, Jenny, is because you were so like happy and talk about the things at work, and like you lost your bubbliness. You lost that
And
sparkle.
because when we're truly happy at what we do, we shine, we
Yeah.
sparkle,
Yeah. You
right?
lost
And
your
we
sparkle.
continue to do the same things, and then we lose that sparkle.
Yes. And
Totally, that's it.
when that happened, that's whenever I started asking myself, "Ooh,
Mm.
I fast forward 10, 15 years of this, that's not going to be the future." And I said,
Wow.
no, like I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna bet on myself, and it's gonna be a good journey. Was
Thank
out,
you.
it was. I'm not saying that. Oh, it's easy. It was scary, very
Of
scary.
course. Of
But on the
course.
other side is amazing. You just have to go through, and that's the whole thing. Is scary because you've never done it before, so you're pushing outside of your comfort zone, which means
Right.
you're growing. So
Right.
now every time I learn, right? So every time I feel like eso, right? Like, oh, I'm nervous. Then I get excited because I'm like, okay, I'm nervous because I'm growing. I never done it before.
Right.
I'm learning something here.
Right. No, I love that. And I think we also need to learn to, when you decide to make that change,
Hmm.
and you know that you're going in the right direction,
Hmm.
it's not from one moment to the other that you feel in your comfort zone. Like
Yes.
you're going to spend a whole bunch of time
Yes.
in that uncertainty and
Hmm.
that whole, and you have to go back to your guts and to your instinct and saying, and constantly remind you, why did I do this?
Yes.
What is the reason, the motivation, like my true authentic passion that I'm going
Hmm.
to pursue with this change, so that you can go through that dark phase of uncertainty, because it's not a few days, it's
Yes.
months. right? That you
What
have to do that.
what you say is brilliantly said, because a lot of people, they don't take the action because they start with the how. How do I
Yeah,
do this? Right? How do I do this? That's the last thing you have to worry about. You have to understand, what do you want? Why do you want it? Because just like you said, that's what's gonna give you the juice to move forward no matter what, even when things
yeah.
don't are easy. And then you figure out the how. You get resourceful and you figure out the how.
Exactly, exactly. And I think it's important to know that you're gonna feel that way, and that's okay. You're gonna feel that uncertainty. You're gonna feel that punch in your stomach, and someday you're gonna be, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and the next day
Right?
you're gonna be scared, and that's fine. And that's part of the
Part of the
process
process.
of pursuing change. So,
Yes.
anyways, let's continue, and thank you for sharing, because those moments, that the one you share when you go home,
Hmm.
are there, to me, those are the ones that really resonate with us, because we have all gone through these
Yeah.
times and these moments. It's not just a moment of I was illuminated and I knew what I had to do. No, I came with
I
what
heard
you
a
said.
voice.
It's just I came home, and sometimes we don't even realize that we have this mask
Bring it.
on, not
Hmm.
even ourselves, right?
Hmm.
And thank you so much for sharing that. So let's keep going with the conversation. So I have another question for you. So
Bring it.
in your journey, what strategies have you found most effective in overcoming challenges unique to Latinas? Because that's the other side of the story, right? In the corporate world, you spend a lot of time in the corporate world.
Hmm.
And how can others apply these strategies in their own careers, right? When we are facing change and challenges, what is unique to us, and some strategies that we can apply to keep moving.
Yeah. That's good. And I was thinking about strategies and tools, and there's many, right? We all go to different um, learning capsules, cafecito chats, and things like that. So I was thinking about, what is the one thing, right? The one or two things that it has been the common theme, and for me, it's two things, especially for Latinas. Number one is, be very conscious and intentional with your superpowers. And number two is that you own your narrative. Nobody does. Nobody else does. And I know if it sounds fancy. Let me bring an
Yeah,
example, right? So I
sure.
can like land the boat, land the plane. So superpowers, yes. Let me give you an example. Through my whole career, I got all this crazy feedback. I know I'm not unique. I know some of you are listening and say, oh, yeah, I heard that too, about me not dressing like an engineer. I almost didn't hire you because you were too bubbly. Jenny, when you go to that meeting, don't let your Latina out. And I'm quoting these things, Lisa. These are things that I was told. You empower your employees too much. You have to be more direct, too much energy. You're too nice. You have too much fun. I don't know if I can trust you with a real job. What else? Gosh, I can. You don't look
Oh
smart.
my
I can keep going. Yes, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. And the whole, even the thing about, are you technical? Because my leadership style was very different from my peers as a woman,
Yeah.
as a Latina, etc. And Lisette, I'm not here to brag. I graduated with a 4.0 in chemical engineering from University of Puerto Rico. I got a master's. Am I smart? Yes. But you know how many times I heard, but are you technical? Are you technical? I let
Oh
those
wow.
thoughts bother
Yeah.
me for so many years that I started doubting, am I smart? Am I technical? And I
Oh wow.
shrunk, right?
Oh
Because
wow.
I let people's opinions like control the narrative. And I say, oh my goodness, Jenny, like wake up. And that's whenever I had an aha moment, that whenever I'm my authentic self, that's whenever I do my best work. So I
Yeah.
started becoming very authentic in my leadership style, and I own the narrative. So for example, if now somebody says, oh, Jenny, you're just too nice, I will say, it's not that I'm too nice. It's not that I'm too nice. It's that I care. And because of that, I'm a phenomenal inclusive leader. And that's what makes me connect in a very different way with teams. I have been able to transform so many organizations for over 24 years. Done. I
Wow. Reframing the conversation.
I control it. I had another very, very high executive leader who said, Jen, because I had a blessing in manufacturing, right? I was in manufacturing for 17 years of having very diverse experiences. And he said, Jenny, you're just lost. That's what he told me. You're lost and you've been everywhere. Like, what's home? And I don't like that question. And I said, no, I'm your best asset as a leader, because I have had all of these successful experiences. Right now, you decide where you need me, and you know, because of my experience, that I'm going to rock it out. I'm going to help you wherever you need me. And then he was like that. It was like, for so you don't let people connect the dots for you. You own your
Right.
narrative. Same thing
Right.
for me. Part of me is my authenticity and energy, right? I had some when people said you have to tone it down. No, I lead that as my superpower. I had one timely said somebody who said, Jenny, when I have a 6 in the morning meeting with you, in the meeting, I look if you're in the meeting invite. And if you are, I know I don't need coffee that time. So for
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
sometimes we try to tone it down and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to be too much. You bring something to the team. You don't want to be in
Right.
those meetings where everybody's like, you being in those meetings where everybody looks like they're hating the world. Like,
Right.
you bring energy, like whatever is your superpower, be intentional with it to bring the team forward, to take it forward, to get the outcomes that you want to get. So be
Right.
intentional with your superpowers, be confident. A lot of that comes from our Latina heritage.
Yeah.
And you control the narrative, nobody else.
For sure, and I think that's so powerful, especially for women and Latinas,
Mhm.
starting their careers, because for you and for me, maybe it took many years to
Yes,
build that confidence and that
yes,
courage to really be authentic, and also understanding that that authenticity is what makes you unique, and
yes,
that's what makes the team richer, more innovative, more productive, and so many things that we bring to the table. But what I believe, at first, when we are starting and trying to find our way in, we just stay quiet, and we
yes,
and we just and as you say, we start questioning ourselves. So
yes.
hopefully, for many of our fellow Latinas, they will start earlier believing in their
Now,
gifts.
yes,
And nowadays, we have so many resources and so many people that we can reach out to. Because I
yes,
think, years ago, we were, kind of more isolated, and with our own resources. So this is what these conversations are for. So that you learn from others, and take it early, and take your own own your career and your authenticity. And by the way, I'm going to go to the next questions, because we have only a few minutes. In case you don't know, because she didn't mention this in the beginning, but Jenny is an author. She wrote this amazing book called Intentional Unicorn. So Jenny, are you have it there? I have mine too. It's awesome, because it's just bombs of wisdom and authenticity, and it's funny, and it just connects at so many levels. So thank you for this jewel of a book, and I'm going to dig into that. So your book has resonated with many for its unique perspective on authenticity and leadership. Can
yes,
you share with us the principles in your book that
yes.
guided you through a challenging moment in your career, probably another time of change or challenging? And what advice would you give to those striving to be intentional unicorns? And tell us what intentional unicorn means
Oh
as well.
goodness, yeah. So that's you see the unicorn thing.
I love it.
The whole concept is that all of us are unique, right?
Yeah.
So then the concept for me was unicorns. They are unique. And the sad reality is that because sometimes we stand out, we think that it's because of the wrong reasons. And if we have a horn, we try to like hide it, like tone it down, make like trying to knock it
Wake
down.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, when it, like if we're here, like I don't want my horn to be shown, but when in reality, that's what makes you you, right? And when you're operating in that authenticity, from that authenticity fabric, that's whenever you do your best work. So like let the horn out, like make sure that people see it because that's how you can help at your best. Yes, and people can benefit at your best. So that's the common theme. Like always be you. But I also come up with that framework. Every time you have like a big goal or anything, it starts with deciding, like what's the goal, but being clear. Because if you're not clear, you go everywhere but nowhere. Yes, so you have to be
Yeah.
very clear in deciding what's the goal, and then commit. Like don't say, oh, I one of these days, maybe tomorrow, I'll start next Monday. No, commit, and then you start taking action. And in that chapter,
Yeah.
I talk a lot about when fear creeps out, when imposter syndrome creeps out, like what do you do, right? And all of those things. Then you adapt. And the reason I say adapt is because sometimes we take action and things go our way. Sometimes we take action and things don't go our way. So that's a learning. That's not a failure. It's a learning.
Yeah.
So you learn, you take the learning, and then you adapt. So that's why I love the concept of adapting. and you need to continue to invest. Like, for example, coming to these Cafecito chats, learn,
Yeah.
getting mentors, trainings, that you have to continue to invest in yourself. Don't wait for like when the company pays for it. No, go for it. Engage. There's so many information is at your hands right now. Yeah. And then start creating, amplifying, and show the world. And show the world it's not about you. When you learn that it's not about you and it's about the person you want to help, or the client you want to help, or the cause that you are for, it's a game changer. It's not about
Yeah.
you anymore. You're doing it because it's the outcome that you want to go after, the impact that you're going after. So that's the framework. And this is the same framework that I have done in all of my career changes, in my decision to go from very successful corporate career to be now entrepreneur and just fully focusing on my business. Even when I decided to be an NFL cheerleader, it's the same concept. It's so funny. When I went
Yeah.
to, I was a dancer in Puerto Rico, but I didn't know what was dancing here. And I left the car and I went to the Indianapolis Colts practice, where they
Yeah.
had the auditions. There were 500 girls there. And these
Oh,
girls were beautiful, glitter everywhere, like hair done, and I mean makeup. And I was in a ponytail with like a sports bra. And I'm like, I'm not fitting. And I started walking back, and I closed the door of my car and I say, Jenny, what are you doing? You're here for the experience.
so you were about to leave. Oh gosh.
Yes, you're here for
Wow.
the experience.
Yeah.
Let's have fun. So that second of courage, like I went back, and from 500 girls, I kept doing cuts and cuts until they chose the final 24. And this was the first Latina in the Indianapolis Colts roster, and ended up being the captain. I ended up having a Super Bowl.
Oh my God.
7 years of a beautiful journey, just
Yeah.
because deciding, committing, and taking action, even when it was uncomfortable. And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't feel good because you're doing something different, but what is on the other side is just phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. And you don't say it right away, but you have to stick with it, right? And you have to
Yes,
have the courage to go through that. And
yes,
before we close, Jenny, because we have only a few minutes left,
yes,
I want to go back to what you were saying about authenticity, and this part that you said, being authentic is about you, but also about the other, your client, that person that you're interacting with. And I
yes.
think that's so important, because this can translate at some points like I'm going to be authentic. I don't
Near the
care.
highway.
Deal
Yes,
with it. I don't care what if I hurt somebody, and that's not the point. And I think
yeah,
that's super important, because I
yes.
believe along with authenticity comes this sense of social awareness,
Mhm.
and be mindful of who you are, but also your audience, and who they are as well.
Yes,
So that's a difficult balance to
yes,
achieve, because I've seen, some people, yeah, I'm going to be authentic, and, I don't care whatever. No, and it's not about that,
no.
right? It's about a balance.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a puzzle, especially if you're working in a team environment. Everybody is a piece, very important piece, and they bring their own, I call it superpowers, yes. And ultimately, it's like, what's the outcome of the team, right? The project outcome, the client they're serving, the patients they're serving, whoever. That's what it's about. And
Yeah,
it's like how each of us bring the best of us in a way that is conducive for that
exactly.
outcome. It's not
Exactly.
like be you and forget about everybody else. Nobody
Exactly.
cares. Nobody cares.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much. I think that was so important to clarify. So, anyways, we're reaching the end of the conversation. As always, I want to thank you for your time, for inspiring others. So, if you're out there and you're feeling this uncomfortable situation and you want to pursue change, make sure that you listen to your inner voice,
Yes,
and really, tap into that potential, because as Jenny was saying, what's other on the other side of the spectrum is many times so rich, but it takes courage, to
yeah,
make that change.
yeah.
But that's yeah, go ahead.
No, if anybody needs any kind of empowerment, make sure you follow Intentional Unicorn. That's like
For
just like
sure.
that. somebody said international what? I'm like, no, intentional.
Intentional unicorn. Yeah.
Intentional unicorn.
So where can they follow you, Jennie?
Yeah,
LinkedIn,
in
Instagram.
every LinkedIn, I'm there almost daily, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, which please subscribe because I have a big vision of making this a big movement for all of us to grow together. Facebook, you name it, I'm in everyone. But I'm always there sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly because
I
the
love
peace
it.
of
Yeah.
mind is whenever all you see is like, oh, I'm so humble about this promotion and this award and this and that. You don't
No.
see the lesson. So I'm here for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I enjoy following you, and as always, I'm super energized and motivated after speaking with you. So thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining us in this Cafecito Wednesday. And see you next time. Salud with our
Salud,
cafecito.
Lizette, and
Bye.
everybody. See you
See you.
soon.